The Food and Drug Administration announced it's banning the use of red dye number 3. It's a synthetic dye that gives food and drinks their bright red cherry color, but has also been linked to cancer in animals. Joining us now to discuss this move, we have Dr. Rupesh Parikh. He's a medical oncologist with Comprehensive Cancer Centers of Nevada. And Dr. Parikh, I'm so glad that you're joining us. Thank you so much for giving us your time. A lot of people may not even know what red dye number 3 is.
So red dye number 3 is essentially anything that makes our food red. It has to be listed on the label. The official word for it may be under its synthetic name, which is erythrosine. That's erythrosine, but it's a dye that has been banned across the Atlantic in Europe and in Australia and New Zealand for years. And actually also in the United States, in our cosmetics, we banned it like 30 plus years ago because there was some data linking it to potential cancer risk.
Oh, wow. And let's talk about that health risk and how it could affect folks. I mean, a lot of people may think, well, you know, how much do you have to even eat of this stuff for it to actually affect your life?
So we don't know that. They actually used a law called the Delaney Law, which is a law that essentially says if anything that causes cancer in animals can apply to humans. And that's how they got it banned. There's actually a dye association in the world that still defends this, but I think there's plenty of data now that says that it does damage your DNA because the dye is actually made from petroleum. And we know it can damage the DNA, and it has caused cancer in lab rats, which is essentially why it finally got banned in the United States.
Wow. So I would imagine that a lot of people, especially in the crunchy community, are probably extremely happy about this one. Do you anticipate that this is a sign of things to come, that perhaps our food supply will get healthier because people will start paying attention to things like this?
Yeah, it's certainly like cereals, Jell-O, medicine, cough syrup, right? Those are the common things, gummy bears, right, that we see red dye in. But it also, like you made your point earlier, it also affects to alcohol, which, the Surgeon Journal came out and made a pretty strong statement last week with the cancer risk that it has. So.
Can we talk about that? I mean, what is it about alcohol that makes it a risk for folks to get cancer?
So alcohol by itself, does a few things in our body. It can damage the DNA itself. It affects how, especially in women, estrogen is absorbed, and it increases estrogen levels. It also affects how other carcinogenic materials, cancer-causing materials, are absorbed in our mouth. So it can cause cancer. Then there's 7 different cancers now that are actually linked to alcohol use with anybody drinking more than 2 drinks a day.
Okay, so more than 2 drinks a day. So can you still do I know there was a study years ago that said red wine was healthy for you, and it actually encouraged the use of it on a daily basis. Is that still holding true?
So that study still holds true, but that study also said, 3 to 4 ounces at most per day, which is essentially 1 drink a day. And does help reduce the risk of heart disease and cholesterol, but not enough probably to cause cancer risk. The study that was cited that linked it to cancer was literally more than 2 drinks a day. But any amount of alcohol, if it increases your cancer risk, you're talking, for example, for breast cancer, if your risk is 10%, it can actually lead to up to 15 to 16% risk out of 100 women. So it's a pretty good risk. So.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Parikh. And hopefully, after learning about this, more and more people will start paying attention to what they're putting into their body. We do know that there's that school of thought that let thy food be thy medicine. And so you want to make sure you're putting the right thing in it.
Yes, definitely. Read your labels, eat healthier. Organic doesn't mean all organic. Make sure it's verified from a good company. But definitely, I think it's a step in the right direction that we're all taking. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and have a good one.